right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another webinar here on A1 Trading. And today's program is a very interesting one, obviously. I am going to talk about decision making and thought processes, or how you can actually improve your decision making process in order to basically improve your overall trading performance. And I'm going to talk about this book right here, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I don't know if you have ever heard anything about this book, Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. And the interesting thing is, or let me say a couple of things about Daniel Kahneman. He is an Israeli-American psychologist, and he is very well known for his work on the psychology of judgment, decision-making, and behavioral economics. And guys, he is described, if you Google his name, he is described as a legend. He is the father of behavioral science, and the book is just brilliant. I'd say this is the best book on earth, and you can learn so much from his research, because in this book, Thinking Fast and Slow, he talks about decision-making processes, and decision-making is like the core business. It is like the #1 skill we day traders basically need, isn't it? This is the holy grail of day trading. And he is a professor at Princeton University and a Nobel Prize winner. And he actually explains in this book, he talks about his research. So the book is not simple to read. It is quite complicated. It took me 2 months, really. 2 months to digest and really understand what he's trying to say. And the second step, which I want to show you today, is reading is one thing, but the second question, and the more important question for you, is how can you apply the teachings of Daniel Kahneman to your everyday trading? And I'd say this is even more important, isn't it? Okay, so as I said, it's one of the best books ever. And in the book, in Thinking Fast and Slow, he summarizes his research, and he teaches us the many ways our mind trick us into making irrational decisions. And today's program, if you were thinking, well, I am a rational thinker, I can decide, and my trades are always based on objective criteria, guys, the professor explains to you that this is not as simple as you may be thinking, right? It is not simple to judge or to take rational actions, or to basically, we human beings, we can't just think in an objective way. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to introduce you to the overall topic. So I'd say, if you were asking yourself, or people usually ask me, they say, Amy, can you give us a book recommendation? Well, this is why I'm here on A1 Trading. I do the monthly webinars where I talk about different books. And what I also do is not only summarizing the content, but also trying to apply the theoretical knowledge to everyday trading. But I'd say everyone out there needs to buy this book here, Thinking Fast and Slow. And I'd say, as I said, this is the holy grail of trading and nothing else. So let me share today's handouts with you. Thailand. Wait a moment. But what am I doing? Wait a second. What do I have to do? Oh, wait, that's all. So you see, Bildschirm teilen. So I click on this. Fenster. All right, yeah, here we go. You see my screen, don't you? Yeah? Yeah, perfect. All right, here we go. Okay, let me start from the very beginning. It was maybe a bit hectic, but I am so von Anfang an wiedergeben. Yeah, I love this book, and I'm very happy that today I do have the chance to share the key insights with you, because as I said, it is one of the most important books, and I'm a bit surprised that nobody out there talks about it. Yeah, this is a bit surprising. Everyone is out there talking about important indicators or what software we should buy, etc. But guys, just read this book and you'd be fine. Now, as I said, the key concepts today are, I'm going to talk about your thought process in general. Yeah, you as a day trader, your most important tool is thinking, right? Thinking, observing, decision making. And this is explained in this book. So this book covers the whole thinking process, and Daniel Kahneman splits the whole thinking process into two groups. The one group is thinking fast and thinking slow. And now, don't be quick to judge to say, well, fast thinking is bad, because Daniel Kahneman says this is reality. We humans, we have both systems in us. We have the fast thinking and the slow thinking, and both of them are useful. Did you know this? Both of them are useful, but the very question is, how can you use both systems at day trading? Now, and let me say another thing. This program is not only for day traders. This is actually for anyone. This book is for anyone who is trying to reach a particular goal, or if you try to change certain things in your life, or if you always wanted to achieve a particular goal, but you just end up making the same mistakes again and again, be that in day trading or somewhere else in your life, doesn't matter. If you don't understand how thinking processes, decision-making processes work, you will never be able to change anything. Yeah. Now, let me first of all summarize briefly how the theoretical aspect Daniel Kahneman shares in his book. Daniel Kahneman says, well, now let us assume that the overall thinking process, right, the decision-making process, is split into two systems. He calls them systems, right? He says there is a system 1 and a system 2. The system 1 is the fast thinking system, and your fast thinking system works automatically. We're going to do an experiment later on in today's program, and then you will experience what I'm even talking about. So the fast thinking system is based on the subconsciously learned processes. That means everything you absorb subconsciously, right, shapes and frames your fast thinking system. And system 2 is the slow thinking system. It is based on presumably deliberate choices. And I will show you today that even the deliberate choices you make are not that deliberate. Yeah. So this is the overall theory explained in very simple words, right? Kahneman says the overall thinking process, the decision-making process, can be split into two groups, and the one group is called system 1, the other one is system 2. System 1 is the fast thinking system, and the other one is the slow thinking system. Now, the next question is, he then says, now let me explain to you how both systems basically work. Now, usually, right, your system 1, it makes suggestions. Imagine you as a day trader, you are a day trader. You open a chart, the first impressions, the first intentions, the first feelings, the first thoughts, right? They come from your system 1. Your system 1 automatically makes suggestions, right? It is like the system 1 presents to your system 2 all these impressions, intentions, feelings, thoughts. System 2 then needs to approve these suggestions, right? And as soon as these suggestions are approved, you decide to take an action. You decide to take a particular trade, for example. Yeah, you understand? This is how it usually works. Then he says the problem is, this is how system 1 and system 2 basically cooperate. The first problem that arises is, as you can imagine, right, human beings are lazy beings. That means system 2 doesn't want to put a lot of effort. System 2 basically approves everything that it approved in the past. And that's the root cause why it is so difficult at day trading to become successful. Because imagine in a scenario where you took multiple trades and let's say you blew up your account, right? Back then, you took these actions, right? And these actions were, or these thoughts to blow up your account was approved by system 2. That means your system 2 now approves the same actions again and again, because it doesn't really understand why should it now put effort into changing anything. You may be now thinking, well, that means we are doomed and we can't basically change anything. That's wrong. You can obviously change things. System 2 is based on system 2 is based on a set of beliefs, and your set of beliefs are usually created based on your subconscious mind. And you can change, you can get access to your subconscious mind. I have explained this in multiple other webinars here on A1 Trading. One way to hack your subconscious mind, to get in touch with your subconscious mind, is having a trading journal, right? Writing things down, working on thinking patterns, or finding a way to getting in the zone before trading. That means, exercising. This is what I do, for example. And while I'm exercising, for example, I'm imagining myself to be a white canvas. It sounds really stupid, but when I have the feeling I am like, my brain is like a white canvas, this is the moment when I can sit down and have a look at the chart, because otherwise I'd be too, absorbed by what is going, what is going on in my life, blah, blah, etc. Yeah. Or I'd be too worried that maybe the trades I take are based on maybe revenge, some sort of, maybe you want to prove everyone that you made it, that you are successful, etc. And these things are, and that's the reason why it is so important to work on your subconscious mind. Yeah, you understand? So system 1 makes suggestions, and it says, these are the impressions that I have, these are the intentions, these are the thoughts, these are the feelings. System 2 approves the suggestions most of the time, and approving depends on the set of beliefs you already have, and the set of beliefs can be changed if you work on the level of your subconscious mind. And on the level of subconscious mind means working on your thoughts, for example, working on your feelings, finding a way to creating the perfect working environment for you, etc. Then, so as I said, this is the very problem, is that system 2 usually doesn't want to put any effort into not approving the suggestions made by system 1. Now, we're going to carry out a little experiment now. Have a look at this photograph and observe or tell me what you can see on this photo. Just let me know what you think, what you see on this photo. It can be anything. It doesn't matter if you just describe it. You can also say something about this lady, what her life is, what her age is. It doesn't matter.
Hey, Amy, I don't think we can see what you're talking about real fast. You might need to change what you're sharing.
Oh, what? Oh, really? You can't see my screen?
Yes, yeah. You might need to, when you hit present and share screen,
Yeah.
maybe pick a different tab, and that should fix it.
Wait a moment. Auswählen. Present. Bildschirm. No, but Bildschirm teilen. Just a second, Bildschirm teilen, and then. Oh no. And now, can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
You see my screen?
Yes, yes, we see your screen. Chandler for the save.
I hate
there it is.
Oh, okay. Guys, this is what I was talking about, right? So I just first of all said, you know, this was the introduction to thinking fast and slow, and then this is just basically, yeah, this is what I summarized. This is what I summarized here. This is just a very brief summary of the overall research of Daniel Kahneman. And as I said, here you can see on this slide, you've got a system 1 and system 2. And then here, as you can see, this makes it now maybe a bit clearer, right? Because you can see it now. You've got your system 1, right? You've got your system 1. Your system 1 makes suggestions such as, you know, all the impressions, all the intentions, all the feelings, all the first thoughts you usually have when you see something. And this is suggested, right, to your system 2. Your system 2 approves it, and then you act on that, right? And usually, as I said, the problem is system 2, because system 2 is like very lazy, and it usually just approves anything, right? It usually approves anything. That means if you really want to change something, you need to have a closer look at your set of beliefs, right? At your set of beliefs. That means working on your subconscious mind. That means working on topics such as building habits. That's the reason why I talked about in my past webinars, I talked about atomic habits, right? Yeah, this is the reason why you have to work on your habits, on your thoughts, on your thought processes, etc. Okay, and now the experiment I have. Look at the photo and tell me what you can see here. Just let me know what you think or what you feel when you see this photo. Yeah. Guys, I asked a question. Are you sleeping? Look of sleep and unexpected event. Or heard unexpected. What else? Is this everything you can tell me when you look at this photograph, which is now an experiment we have to carry out, otherwise you just would not understand what I'm talking about here. So what do you see here? Imagine this is like opening the chart. What can you see here? Tell me what you can see. She looks like, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead, continue. Yeah, this is good. What else? A little bit of shock. Yeah, probably angry. Anything else? Okay. Now, all right. Now, Okay, this is now the experiment he does with us in the book, right? On page, what is it? On page 19, it's here, right? He does this very same, what are you looking for? Well, I'm not looking for anything. No, this is the experiment. It just says, have a look at the photograph and say, basically, you should basically share with us, you know, you just tell me what you can see. You have a look at, this is the experiment. If I told you what I was looking for, that wouldn't be a scientific experiment. So I want you to share with me your thoughts. What can you see when you see this photograph? Yeah, what does it tell you? And you gave me a couple of very good answers. People are saying angry, outrage, a bit of shock. She looked like she saw a ghost, for example. So that means based on one single photograph, yeah, based on one single photograph, we then basically make assumptions, don't we? Right? We don't just say, I see a woman and then, you know, she looks like as if she just saw a ghost. And some others, for example, in the book, it says, if you had more time to look at this photograph, you would then probably think about, you would come up with details. You would probably say, she is, I don't know, 40 years old. She has 2 kids. She is a single mother. She is unemployed, probably. Yeah, these types of things. That means just by having a look at the photograph, you assume things that don't exist, right? And you then said angry. Maybe if you had a bit of more time, you would have said, she's about to say a bad word. She's about to shout at us or something like that, yeah? That means based on what we see, we assume things that basically, you know, facts that don't necessarily exist. This is the reason, and I want to anticipate a bit. In one of my webinars, I said what works brilliantly for me as a day trader is, before I open the chart, I go through the chart, you know, I go through the imaginary chart. Before I open anything, I just go through the chart in the way that I basically say, well, GBP US dollar, at the moment, the chart, or the last time I saw the chart, that was, you know, before you go to bed usually, or in my case, and then I know what the chart looks like, what the important numbers are, what exactly happened, etc. Yeah, so that means I go through the core ideas I have based on what I still remember, and then I open the chart. And guys, if you do that for the next, I don't know, 90 days, I could imagine that things will basically, or I could imagine that your overall performance could change. Yeah, because this helps you not to be that biased, right? You open the chart, and then instead of letting the system one, this is system one, right? You open something, you see something, and the first impressions, the first thoughts, they basically come up to your mind, yeah? What about this one? 17 times 24. Now, this is another experiment in the book. Now, this experiment right here, we don't have to do it now, but this experiment right here, it describes, this is obviously not system one. Well, it is a mix between system one and system two. System one tells you what? It tells you this is a multiplication problem, isn't it? You know, oh, I have to multiply. This is your system one. And that's the reason why system one is not entirely bad, because your system one helps you to understand the overall scenario, yeah? And system two is useful because you now have to do some sort of mental work, right? You have to basically put some effort in order to get the result. But system one tells you already the result can't be something like 12,609, and it can't be something like 123, right? If you have 123 as a result, you'd know from your system one that something must be fishy. The result can't be true, because it doesn't make any sense. So this is how system one and system two work together. This is what I was trying, and I wanted to share this experiment, which is explained in the book, with you, to show you how this usually works. And now on page, and then he goes further. He says, when usually what happens, imagine you as a day trader, when system one runs into difficulty, right, it usually then tries to, or it calls on system two. That means if you can't solve the problem right away, like here in experiment number 2, you usually try to get some help from your system 2. Yeah, so that means your system 2 is then mobilized, and the only problem is, the only thing is that both systems are useful. Yeah. Now, let me already draw some conclusions for your day trading. Now, as we know from this experiment right here, maybe this is the nicest lady on earth, right? Maybe she she doesn't want to say something bad. Maybe she's about to say something absolutely lovely. Yeah, you have no idea. But this is already the conclusion that you can draw for your everyday trading. Usually what people do, what usually leads to, or what makes it more likely that you end up making a lot of mistakes, is when you have a long list of, or this is at least how I understand the book, when you have a long list of Forex pairs. Some people, they trade multiple Forex pairs and they just scroll through all the Forex pairs out of, they don't want to basically miss out on good opportunities. And then they decide too fast. They decide based on their analysis on the daily chart, right? They open the daily chart, have a look at Euro US dollar, jump to GBP US dollar, and then go to the 4 hours, then the hourly chart, and take a trade, for example, right? If this is you doing it, I'd recommend that. And this is also a suggestion by Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman says, if you tend to be someone who is a fast thinker, in the sense of that, you get the first impressions and you then act on these first impressions, what you can do is you can slow down a bit. And slowing down a bit at day trading, what I would say, or what I would recommend, what works for me, is I'd have a short, a small list of Forex pairs. Like I usually have only GBP US dollar and Euro US dollar, right? Because as I said to you, before you open the chart, go through the chart already in your mind, because otherwise when you open, the first moment you open, you can't, I mean, it will happen to you automatically. It will happen to you automatically. It doesn't matter what. The moment you open, you will be impressed. You will be shaped. Your mind will be already framed. Doesn't matter what you do. So that means know the pairs you trade, know them very well. Know them very well in the sense of that you don't even need to open a chart. This is the first thing we can learn. And this is something I usually do. I usually only take 3 to 4 trades a month. And this month I only took 1 trade. That was on Tuesday, and I closed it yesterday. I opened it at 1.22503 and then closed it at 1.20667. And what I wanted to explain to you is how you can actually, I wanted to apply the theoretical explanation of Daniel Kahneman to this particular trade. And for this, wait a moment, I have to just, yeah, exactly, it's here, yeah. So this is something I said in, I think it was the last webinar I had here on A1 Trading, and there I said, I always say, make sure that you create, at the beginning of a month, create 3 scenarios, right? At least 3 scenarios, A, B, C. And now this is the scenario I created. These are the 3 scenarios I created in January. And now it looks like as if scenario B is happening, right? So here it says scenario B for GBP US dollar, first price correction to clarify whether there is a safety net, then a continuation of the optimistic momentum. So as soon as I know, so that means the first thing is you only have, like, let's say 2 Forex pairs. The second thing is you study these Forex pairs in detail, right? That means you take control of your system 1, as good as possible, even though this is not going to be fully possible. That means you are not shaped and led by the impressions when you open the chart, but you create your scenarios, and then you open the chart, and then I change to the monthly chart, and here then I take notes, right? I know, oh, okay, scenario B seems to be happening, and then I write down, a couple of new scenarios, or I write down what would be the ideal scenario and what needs to happen, or what do I need to bear in mind if this and this happens, etc. So you create possible scenarios, and the trick is just think to have multiple contradicting scenarios. Having multiple contradicting scenarios helps you not to, the problem is, let's say, the moment you decide to do something, right? The moment you decide to do something and you open the chart based on a daily analysis, you now want to take a trade. If you have the urge to take a trade, and if you have the urge to, let's say you're looking for buying opportunities, the problem is the moment you tell yourself, all right, where could I enter? Where could I go long, for example, right? You're already somehow shaped. That's the reason, look for both opportunities always. Now, the funny thing is, while my trade was open, I took screenshots to see the trader's sentiment, or to have a look at the trader's sentiment. And at 10 a.m., right, 63% of people, even though we had a clear downtrend, and even though certain things were violated, important zones were violated, people were looking for buying opportunities. And then 2 hours later, we had 64%. And then 1 hour later, we had 66% of buyers. As you can see, that means people here, they were looking for buying opportunities, and they just couldn't throw away and get rid of the idea of buying and then just going with the trend, but they were holding on to this idea they already had in the back of their mind, because they were already shaped. If you are shaped once, this is like, it will, you will then basically act on it. And this is not always good. It is usually never good, right? If you have an urge and you are desperately looking for buying opportunities, as you can see here, right? Even though the price was going lower and lower, people were looking for buying opportunities. This is like, catching the falling knife, isn't it? And this is a very good example of system 1. System 1 is desperately just getting all these impressions, and then you are acting out of fear. And fear is system 2. That means if your system 2, if system 2 approved, months ago, you were in the same scenario, you acted out of fear. But system 2 approved your actions and said, yeah, just look for buying opportunities, because finally the trend will basically change, right? Just buy anywhere you want to. This was approved back then. This is what I was trying to say. System 2 is there for you to step in when system 1 is in trouble, but don't think that system 2 will put additional effort to change things. This is you who has to change things, because system 2 will go through your memory and then remember, oh, well, wait a moment. Months ago, I approved, and I bought in the middle of nowhere. And system 2 doesn't then say it went wrong or it went very well, etc. It just says, I remember I approved, yeah? And then you will make the same mistakes again and again. This is how it works. Now, usually, right, when you are asked, this is on page 4, when you're, Daniel Kahneman describes the scenario, and this one is very good, which I want to share with you. He says, when you are asked what you are thinking about, you can normally answer. You believe you know what goes on in your mind, which often consists of one conscious thought leading in an orderly way to another. And this is the problem. Yeah, most people think we have one conscious thought leading in an orderly way to another. Most people say, I am a rational human being. I usually have one conscious thought that leads, you know, just basically in an orderly way to another. Especially people with an academic background, right? They say, no, 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 I am a very rational human being. Now, but that is not the only way the mind works, nor indeed is that the typical way, because this is not how your mind works. If it worked like that, well, anyone would be very successful at day trading, right? And then he says, most impressions and thoughts arise in your conscious experience without your not knowing how they got there. That means, you know, you open the chart, right? You get your first impressions, but you think the way you think based on your subconscious mind. And rule number 1, so to say, rule number 1, or this is at least a rule I would come up with in order to apply his theory, is be aware that anything you see, right, is also shared by many other people. And this leads us to the second point, because most people think, you know, most people think that your mind works like this. You open the chart, you see something, and then based on what you see, you decide. But you forget, and this is written in his book, Daniel Kahneman says, what you see is all there is. Our system 1 focuses on the existing evidence and ignores the absent evidence. That means just because you see something does not mean that this is enough. And that's the reason why the most important tool for you as a day trader is thinking, active thinking. You have to learn thinking. That means create, and the best way to do this is creating multiple scenarios. Yeah. Even at weekends, when you evaluate your trades, what you could do is you could create multiple scenarios. You could think of, you know, contradicting scenarios, etc. Because the problem is, you know, you open the chart and you ignore everything else which is also there, but which you can't see. What do I mean? Your surrounding, all the emotions, the thoughts, what happened before, what will happen afterwards, everything that surrounds you in one way or another is there as well, isn't it? And what you see here, be careful, what you see has always a priming effect on you, right? It shapes your mind. And that's the reason why we could just break it down to something very simple. Before you open the chart, just go through the multiple scenarios. Yeah, you need to know the chart, even, you know, without opening it. And how you could actually also work is use a journal, right? You could do, have a trading journal, but do journaling in general in order to understand, in order to spot your thinking patterns. And because priming is, your experience. Sometimes it happens to us that there was a temptation on the market, yeah, and we declined on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday, for example, we end up losing a lot of money, for example, yeah. This happens usually because of, priming, what happened before, or we had a terrible day at work, and then we come home, we want to take a trade, and then it ends up in a miserable scenario. Or we want to prove to our friends, family, to other people that we achieved something, and we end up in a misery, right? These things, they basically prime and shape our mind. There is an experiment in the book, and Daniel Kahneman says they carried out an experiment with students, and here it says, when asked to complete the word SOP, people who were primed with the word eat are more likely to complete it as soup, whereas people exposed to the word wash would mostly see soap. You understand? So that means depending on the previous actions, right, or depending on your surrounding, or depending on what you already had in mind, you will see the things differently. And this is another experiment, but I think I'm sure you all know this experiment right here. This is the Müller-Lyer illusion. The question, which of the two horizontal lines is longer? And usually, if you don't know the research, you'd probably say, well, this one is shorter than this one right here, right? But this is not the case. And then he says in the book, to resist the illusion, there is only one thing you can do, because this is an obvious illusion, isn't it? But we can't resist. Everyone here would say the upper line here is shorter and the bottom one is longer. We can't resist the illusion. But to resist the illusion, there is only one thing you can do. You can learn to mistrust your impressions in general. You may be wondering, how does that work at day trading? As I said, create contradicting scenarios and ask yourself, what is more likely to happen based on what criteria? Yeah. And yeah. And then he then continues in his book, and he says, not all illusions are visual. There are illusions of thought, which we call cognitive illusion. Yeah. So that means you also, that's a reason why he also says later on in the book, that was on page 161, I guess, they carried out a research, and they had two groups of students. One group of students, they put them into a very bad state of mind. They told these students, you will never make it, you're losers, look at you, blah, blah, you look like, yeah, they put them into a bad mood. And then they had the second group of students, they put them in a very happy, cheerful, mood. And then they let both groups do a task. And the first group, obviously, right, they were more likely to basically give up and not try that many times, or not that often, like the second group that was put into a positive mindset. First of all, that means your mindset, and that's another takeaway of today's lesson. Your mindset is something very important. Put yourself, first of all, in a cheerful, not cheerful maybe, but in a state of mind that allows you to be fully focused, right? You have nothing else in the back of your mind, no problems and nothing else, right? Because as a day trader, if you are, if you have something in the back of your mind, or if something bothers you, you'd probably end up, as I said, making mistakes, etc. So the last thing for today is here on, he summarizes, he summarizes the fast thinking process and the slow thinking process. System 1 is therefore the fast thinking process, and your system 1 operates automatically and quickly. right? So you can't do a lot. And system 1 usually always suggests everything, right? Like every thought, every impression to system 2. System 2 is lazy and only puts, mental work and effort into a task if really, really needed, like if you have a multiplication problem. But if system 2 thinks, well, I can do that in an easier way, it will do so. That means if it knows based on what happened, in the past, I can basically approve it, then system 2 will be just too lazy, right? And we'll say, all right, just, yeah, I approve the suggestions by system 1. So system 2 operates or is based on a set of beliefs you have. And that's the reason why having a trading journal is so important, because you're not only writing down your trades, but also write down based on what thought process did you take a particular trade. So track your thought processes and then evaluate your thought process, and then you will understand where the mistake is and how you can actually change it. So the summary for today, if you are wondering what can I do, I've got 4 steps for you. First of all, step 1, right? Before opening the chart, do a self-assessment in your trading journal, right? Ask yourself, do I have the physical, mental fitness today, or can I do something to put myself in a state of mind that helps me to feel better, right? This is also something he mentions in the book, right? If you're too tired, if you're too exhausted, if this and that, if you're too sad, blah blah, then just don't trade. And then, I mean, he doesn't refer to trading, right? He refers to other things, but he usually says, don't do a complicated task if you are not in the right state of mind. This is what he says. And then do an imaginary chart analysis. Go through the charts in your mind without opening the chart, yeah? And then have a look at your behavioral patterns. Always keep a track of your behavioral patterns, of your thought processes, and then open the chart and have multiple time frames, or open multiple time frames. And what I mean is not, weekly and daily, but also work with these right here, with the 3 months. Wait a moment. Yeah, 3 months to see the overall picture. That means now we've got February, right? January, February, March, the first 3 months. So you then want to create multiple scenarios based on this, and then you break it down to the monthly chart, yeah? And then oh, we are now here, and then you, based on that, you then create even more even more scenarios. Wait a moment. Sorry. And then we've got step 3. You then close the chart. You close the chart, and then you plan everything, right? Entry point, exit, etc. And then you take a trade. You may be thinking, well, that takes me hours. No, it takes you seconds, guys. It happens it doesn't happen. I mean, it will, or you will get used to the whole process, and then you get faster and faster. But this is what I would recommend, at least. And then step 4 is evaluating not only your trades, but also your behavioral patterns, the thoughts you had, right? The thoughts you had. Because, and everyone who says, no, I'm a rational thinker, guys, you are in absolute denial. Or are you the professor who teaches at Princeton University? I don't think so. So I don't want to sound, mean, but this is how your thinking process works. This is it. And the main idea is, to summarize it and to finish today's lesson, is learn to use your brain. Thinking is the most important tool you actually need as a day trader, nothing else. thinking. This is it, right? I take thinking is the most important indicator, right? Is the most important indicator, or is the most important tool for us day traders. That's the reason why, for example, reading is an excellent way to work on your set of beliefs, because reading gives you a new perspective, right? It gives you a new, it gives you a new perspective, and then you go through your set of beliefs, and then you just see things from a different angle. The more you see things from different angle, the better you will become, because you have to learn thinking. This is what we usually don't do, because we have a lot of entertaining going on. Lots of people have Instagram and other rubbish social media platforms, and they scroll through, TikTok and whatever. We are very busy. We spend hours and hours just entertaining ourselves. Don't expect, thinking doesn't happen just like this. You have to teach it to yourself. Yeah. All right, so this is it for today. And as I said, both systems, Daniel Kahneman says, both systems are useful, right? You need you need your system 1 and system 2, both of them, right? And as I said, it's absolutely worth the money buying this book here, Thinking Fast and Slow. But just be aware, it takes a lot of time to go through the book, right? It took me, as I said, it took me 2 months, and I usually was always very exhausted after reading a couple of, or after reading a chapter. I always felt very exhausted, because it takes a lot of energy to digest what he describes. As I said, he shares his research. It's a research paper. It's not what we are used to usually, right? Yeah. So if you are serious about day trading, you need a holistic view. You can't just be a day trader. A day trader is someone who is busy with this topic 24/7, round the clock. And as I said, if you want to teach yourself thinking and using your brain, this is a full-time job. Sometimes, yeah. So that means find ways to train your brain. How can I use my brain? What I used to do is, I've been day trading now for about 10 years or a bit more, and every year I had to go to learn a new language, and then I now speak 11 languages, and this is something I just did because of I wanted to challenge my mind, and in order to understand, because I wanted to learn thinking. You need to learn thinking, and it doesn't really matter how you do it, but if you waste your time by just entertaining yourself, be aware that you are losing something during this time. Okay, so I'd say this is it for today. I don't know if anyone is watching. 21 people. Okay, guys, this is it for today. Not really, no. It's not about changing you as a person, but as I said, I was always very serious about day trading. So I knew from the very beginning, I need my brain for this, and no software, nothing on this earth can help you to become successful. You need your bloody brain to become successful. That means if languages are not your cup of tea, you could also do something else to train your mind. Yeah, it is just about training your brain, learning how thinking works. Do something with your brain. Just make sure that you learn how thinking works. All right, now I've said it a couple of times. Okay, stop complicating it. Okay. All right, guys. So have a lovely evening and hope to see you next time with, maybe I continue with this book. I will see, maybe there is some more, interesting theoretical aspects we can apply to our day trading. If not, you can also have a look at the presentation once again and then take notes. I don't know, maybe there is something useful for you that helps you to improve your trading skills. Other than that, take care and have a lovely evening, guys. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Thanks again for watching today's show. Our goal at A1 Trading is to continue to share free value to our audience through daily videos and articles, keeping you up to date with the latest market coverage. If you enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe for more. And remember to check the description below if you're looking for a new broker or looking for a trading community to join. From all of us at A1 Trading, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.